Hello, FlossTube Stitchers. Today, let's chat about dyeing. D-Y-E-I-N-G. So I recently received some beautiful dyed fabrics that I was excited to show you, but it also kind of presented an opportunity to have dyeing be a theme for the whole episode. So as a shop owner, I call these specialty fabrics as opposed to like the solid colors. And I kind of lump them into three different categories. The first would be companies like Color and Cotton, Fabrics by Stephanie, Picture This Plus, that will take fabric and put it in a dye solution and then do whatever else they need to do to create a beautiful fabric for you to stitch on. They're not going to give their secrets away, but I think we all have a general sense of how that's done. And probably my most frequent comment is, a half a drop too much of something creates a different color. So it's easy to see how dye lots can change without meaning to. The second category would be companies that stamp on fabric, and the two that come to mind are Fabric Flair and Zweigart, which of course has the vintage line, where it's a solid color on one side and stamped on the other. Then the third category, there's actually no one doing this anymore. I think there's a tremendous void in the dyeing world right now, and that's why stitchers are doing it themselves. So the third category would be coffee and tea dyeing, and that's when we want something to look more grungy than it already is. There are a lot of fun fabrics that are grungy, but they might be colored the wrong way. They might be blue or green and you just want a beige. Maybe you want to do a sampler. Maybe you just want something to look old, and so you'll stitch it and then coffee dye it afterwards. So we have adventures in those three main categories, I guess you could say. I'm going to start with Fabric Flair. This fabric I think came out last year, but I just got it recently. It's called Candy Corn Galore, and this is on linen, and I could order it in Ada. Not sure what color the candy corns would be due to previous experience with ordering a fabric in a different fabric content than what the designer originally used. The next fabric I got that I thought was really fun for Halloween is just called Hand-Dyed Gray. And this is a better fabric to show you what the backside looks like. So it's just white on the other side, and then they stamp whatever pattern they want. And then Zweigart, this is probably the most popular color they sell from their vintage line. It's called Country Mocha, and it's actually dyed over light mocha. And it's just got the same stamp that kind of goes across the whole piece. But we've had experiences where we've had a really cool color and did a model on it, and then somebody wanted it 2 years later, or somebody wanted it in Ada, and the second or third time around, it didn't look the same. So one example, where did I put that? So this is JBW Designs French Country Witch, and it was stitched by Marlene Oleniak. And since it was all done in one color, we thought it would be kind of cool to use a pattern fabric for the background. So you have a good look at that. And then, of course, we had customers that wanted it in Ada. No, this is not the same. And I haven't sold a piece yet, and we've had it probably a year, because it doesn't look like Halloween anymore because the polka dots are white. So instead of doing the lighter purple with the dark purple spots, they did kind of a medium purple with white spots. And I thought I was pretty clear when I ordered it. It's still really cute. It would be great for Easter, maybe for a child's room. It's a nice color. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just I'm not selling it for its intended purpose to do the witch. So then a second example would be my Let Us Be Thankful row, designed by Bent Creek. and I chose Parisian stripe, which was a very nice neutral and white stripe. And when we reordered it, this is how it came in. So it's much darker, and although I did sell some of it, I'm sure I would have sold out again of the yardage that I purchased for this design had it been more subtle, because people were afraid that the design wouldn't show up as much. So it just doesn't always translate well, maybe to a different fabric content, or over time things change. You know, maybe the dye changed, maybe they have new employees, maybe they got a new computer system and things aren't listed the same way. I don't know, but we've had that happen several times, and so, you know, we're always crossing our fingers that it's going to come out right the next time. All right, now I'm going to show you our very first order from Seraphim Fabrics. I know some of you have probably used her fabric before because it was recommended to me, so I looked into it and was pleased to see that she did wholesale. In fact, this past March was her first trade show with us in Nashville, and this was my first order. Sometimes it takes me a while to decide on colors and try to work it in among other orders that I already have standing, so that not too much comes at the same time, or the bills aren't too high each month. And at the last minute, I changed my order because I thought, with all of this post-quarantine nonsense, maybe my order would come quicker if I ordered not 12 different colors, but maybe 4 different colors in 3 different fabrics, because maybe it would go faster the way they create the dyes. I don't know. Maybe they just do 1 yard at a time, or maybe they make a big vat and put all different types of fabric content in at the same time, or different customers' pieces in at the same time. I don't know, but it came really fast, so I'm glad I changed my mind. Anyway, that's just a little behind the scenes nonsense. So the first color is Bee's Knees. Isn't that a cute name? And this is the Ada. And this is the Lugana. So yes, quite a bit lighter. And then this is the 40 count linen. So a little closer to the Ada. So my thoughts, first of all, are that Lugana is always going to be lighter. And I had heard that cotton would probably always be darker because cotton takes the dye harder, or it takes it well. Anyway, so Ada's going to be darker, and the Lugana, or the even weaves that are a cotton rayon or polyester blend, will be the lightest. Okay. Then this is Moss in Ada. This is the Lugana, and this is the Belfast linen. In this case, the 32 count linen is not as dark as the Ada, whereas the 40 count linen was. So it's kind of interesting even across the fabric counts. The next color is called Old Stationery. This is the Ada. That's the Lugana. And then this is the 28 count linen. And that seems to be just as dark as the Ada. Maybe the Ada looks a touch more greenish gray. But anyway, pretty colors, all of them. And then the last color, because I had seen this somewhere on social media, somebody stitched something on it, and I didn't care what they stitched on it. I just thought it looked like a pretty color. So this is Tobias in Ada. This is the Lugana, so not quite as green. And this is 32 count linen. Okay. And then, just for fun, I had to get Witching Hour because it just looked like a cool color for Halloween, and I got that in 32 count linen. So that was a really fun order to unpack. Okay, and then the next batch of fabric I want to show you comes from Italy, from our friends at Rovarus. This is a new adventure for them, and we are happy to be along for the ride. I just want to show you the front for a second to see how cute they're packaged. So they're tied with twine with their business card, and then there's a little charm that says handmade with love. But I'm going to show you the back so that you can see a little more of the color variation. This one is acid. This one is autumn leaves. And I do open these up for customers if they want to see the whole piece, if they have something in mind for it and they want to make sure there's not a big blotch like right in the center of the fabric. I do open these up. This is chocolate. This one is gray. Moss, which has such lovely color variation in it. This one's pumpkin. Sand. And this is spooky gray. So I look forward to getting more of their fabrics. Each time I order charts from them, pretty soon we'll have the whole line of colors. And then these are the new charts that we got in. This is autumn in their line of seasons. It looks like that might have been done on one of theirs, maybe autumn leaves. I can't read it on the back. I'd have to unfold the whole pattern, I think, to see if they even mention it. This one is called the Black Sampler. And that could have been the spooky gray. Halloween cat. Harvest. Skeletons in Love. Welcome Halloween. And Welcome to My Web. I saved the Christmas one for last because it kind of didn't go with the rest of them. This is called Holiday Ticket. And of course we got more charts to support the models we have on display, and a new model that we got in recently that was framed by Bonnie is Give Thanks. This was stitched by Marlene. I'll give you a close-up of that cute little leaf charm. So that's our new model of the week. And they also do needle minders and scissor fobs. And in my haste to order the fabric, I didn't think to ask if they did those wholesale as well. And I also didn't know how long it was going to take the order to come. So I thought, I'll order at another time. Well, I placed the order. I paid the PayPal invoice. They shipped it the next day. I got it in less than a week. I'm not kidding. From Italy in less than a week. Anyway, they sent 2 scissor fobs. So I'm going to use them as door prizes. One is a witch hat and one is a jack-o'-lantern. And all you have to do to enter is just say pumpkin or witch somewhere in your comment. And you can put both if you want to be considered for both, or you can just pick one if that would be your favorite, and then whoever wins will make it work out. All right, so that's that. Then, so the last category I talked about was what again? Were you paying attention? Coffee dyeing. Nobody's doing that anymore. Nobody has a traditional coffee dyed fabric that looks old. So what spurred me on recently to try coffee dyeing again after a number of years was a gift from a friend. So Christine had ordered from a company, and by mistake they included a huge box of coffee pods for the Keurig machine. And she doesn't own a machine, and so she couldn't use them, and asked if I was interested, and I said sure. Not only does my husband drink coffee, but I also have been making my own fancy coffees at home to bring to work to save a little bit of money. And I used to only get Starbucks or Dunkin's once a week. Then it became twice a week, and now it's like, oh my gosh, I want it every day, so I need to start making it myself. But I also thought, since it was free, why don't I try some coffee dyeing? So I took a piece of antique white linen, I think it was 9x9, and I had handy a plastic recyclable container that, who cares if it gets coffee stained. And I made a cup of coffee using just the regular setting. You could play around with the settings too. I guess if you make a smaller cup, it uses less water, and so the strength would be darker for these purposes, but you can play around with your own machine or what type of coffee it is. So I took the coffee grounds out of the pod, which my husband would normally put in the compost pile, but he started saving them for me. So I just took out from one pod, so this is 1 cup of coffee and 1 pod, and I didn't even use all of it for 1 piece of fabric. I probably could have done 3 pieces of fabric, but I just did 1. So I dunked the fabric in the coffee, got it wet, and I had paper towels on the counter, and I kind of squeezed out the excess water, and then I rubbed coffee grounds all over the fabric and scrunched it up again with the coffee grounds inside and put it into this small container. So you don't want to lay it out flat because you want the coffee grounds to have the opportunity to adhere, darker in some spaces and lighter in others, and you just leave it in there. And I think I left it in overnight. I don't know, it doesn't matter. It wasn't in anybody's way. And then I took it out and I let it dry on more paper towels. You could do it in the oven too. I just didn't turn it on for this one little piece of fabric. So I just let it dry. I don't know, maybe, I just left it there for 2 days or something. And then when it was dry, I brushed off all of the coffee grounds, and what I had left was a really interesting piece of fabric. And I ironed it a little bit just so that you could see a little bit better what it is. But you're not going to iron out all the wrinkles. They're meant to stay that way. So anyway, here's my piece. So this is what it looks like. So like I said, I just briefly ironed it so that it wasn't all in a ball. But it could be spritzed and ironed again. But our framer doesn't really require a piece to be ironed. She stretches it pretty tight. So this is the back side. And you can see that it doesn't have as many of the coffee marks on it because the coffee grounds were on the other side. Maybe I can show you. Can you? You can't really tell, but it's kind of subtle. Oh, and you know what? This is what the paper towel looks like. This was a fresh one that I used just to iron the piece. So just so you know, this is why I don't lay hand-dyed fabric on top of other hand-dyed fabric in my store, because the color comes off on our white index cards and it could come off on other fabric as well. Anyway, that was my adventure in coffee dyeing. Okay, so I hope it makes sense. Maybe the pictures that I include at the end will show you the steps. If you have any questions, just ask. You can watch Priscilla and Chelsea's video on how they coffee tea dye things because they show how to put it in the oven. Anyway, it was kind of fun, and I think it would be really great for a sampler or just a fun little piece, anything that you want to look prim. And like I said before, maybe, I don't know, I don't remember what I already said, but nobody's doing this sort of dyeing anymore, so we kind of have to do it ourselves. So Okay, so the very last thing I have to do is tell you the winner of the Gobble Couple, the native gobbles for Thanksgiving from last week. And I drew Marla A. Actually, I didn't draw her name out of anything. The random number generator picked her. So anyway, Marla, I think maybe we've already done business. So I will double check that. But anyway, congrats.